Looking at 5.1, we are going to be talking about ratios and proportions. So you will be able to write ratios and write and solve proportions. A ratio shows the relative size of two or more values. In different ways, ratios are written. So for example, if we have 1 boy and 3 girls, we can write it as 1 to 3. We can write it as 1/4 boys and 3/4 girls. We could write it as 0.25 boys or 25% boys. So practice problem 1. If a baseball player's batting average is the ratio of number of base hits to the number of at-bats, not including walks. So Joe Mauer had the highest batting average in 2006 in Major League Baseball. If he had 521 official at-bats and 181 hits, find his batting average. So we have the ratio of hits to at-bats. So if he had 181 hits divided by 521 at-bats, he had a batting average of 347 or 34.7%. That means he got a hit about 35% of the time. So the number of students that participate in sports programs at Central High School is 520. The total number of students in the school is 1,850. So find the athlete to student ratio. So we have 520 athletes. And we can divide that by our 1,850 total students. So this will give us a ratio of 0.28, meaning that 28% of the students are athletes. So sometimes ratios can compare more than two numbers. This is going to be called an extended ratio. So A to B would be the first two quantities, B to C would be the second two quantities, and A to C would be the first and the last quantities. So that would be comparing all different pairs. So the ratio of the measure of the angles in a triangle ABC is 3, 4, and 5. We want to find the measures of the angles. So we want to set this up first as 3x plus 4x plus 5x is going to equal 180. And then we can add all of these together and we'll get 12x equals 180. So we will get that x equals 15. So if x equals 15 and we have our angles here, we're calling one 3x, and 4x, and 5x. We solve for x. Plugging x back in, we get our first angle to be 3 times 15. So we get 45 degrees. And then 3 times 4, we'll get 60 degrees. And for our first angle, we took 3 times our 15. For our second one, we took 4 times 15. For our fifth one, we'll take 5 times 15. So we'll get 75 degrees. Trying this one now, looking at the perimeter, we know that here it says that it's 392 inches all the way around, and we have that it's 3 to 8. So we're going to call this side 3x, this side 3x, and the base here 8x. And we know that the sum of this has to be 392. So we can take 3x plus 3x plus 8x and set that equal to 392. Adding all of that together, we will get 14x equals 392. Dividing by 14, we'll get x to be 28. Plugging back in for our sides, we'll take 28 times 3 for our first side, so we'll get 84. And again, our second one is going to be the same. Then our last one, we can take 28 times 8 to get 224. So what happens here is that we have equal parts. X is our equal parts, and 8 of our equal parts are on the bottom, 3 of our equal parts are on each side. So that's where the X comes from. All right, so Jane jogs the same path every day in the winter to stay in shape for track season. She runs at a constant rate, and she spends a total of 39 minutes jogging. If the ratio of the times of the 4 legs is 3, 5 to 1 to 4, how long does the second leg of the jog take her? So we can set this up. We have 3x plus 5x plus 1x plus 4x equals 39. So then we get 13x equals 39. Solving, we get x to be 3. Now we want to know how long does the second leg of the jog take her? So that was our 5, so we can take 3 times 5 to get that it takes her 15 minutes. Now we're going to be looking at proportion and solving proportions. So proportion is two ratios that are equal. And then solving proportions. Have you guys heard of the term cross multiply and divide? We're going to be looking at how to do some of that. So number 6, cross multiply and divide. We get 5 times 12 equals 8x. So we get 60 equals 8x. Dividing by 8, we will get 7.5 equals Rx. So again, note here, we multiplied these two, and then we divided. All right, so number 7, we're going to get 2 times x minus 2 equals 4 times x plus 4. Distributing that in, we get 2x minus 4 equals 4x plus 16. Combining everything together, we will get 12 equals 2x. If we add our 16 over, hang on here, we want to subtract our 16. So I'm going to add my 4 over and subtract my, so I'm going to get negative 2x is going to equal 20, and then x is going to be negative 10. All right, trying this bottom one here. Cross multiply, we get x minus 1 times 2x plus 3. It's going to equal 6 times 3. So we'll get 2x squared. And then plus 3x minus 2x minus 3 is going to equal 18. Combining everything over and moving our 18 over, we'll get 2x squared plus x minus 21 equals 0. We can then factor and note here that we have a coefficient of 2 in front of our x squared, so we need one with 2x and one with x. We want numbers that are going to multiply to be negative 21. So I can think of 3 and 7. So we need to decide where to put them. One of them has to be positive, one has to be negative. So I'm going to put my 7 plus 7 and minus 3. So I can get x to be negative 7 halves, or x equals 3. So we can go over how to factor some of that again if you don't quite remember. So a word problem here, Katie surveyed 30 students from her class and found that 18 owned an iPad. If there were 870 students in Katie's school, predict the total number of students with an iPad. So you guys have been doing stuff like this in algebra. So we can set it up with 18 students have an iPad over 30 total students. And now we're looking at if instead of having 30 students, we have 870 students. We want to know how many own an iPad. We can cross multiply and divide, and we'll get x to be 522 students that own an iPad. So now Shelley can read 20 pages in 30 minutes. At this rate, how long will it take her to read 152 pages? If she reads 20 pages in 30 minutes, we want to know how long it will take her to read 152 pages. So cross multiply divide, we get x to be 228 minutes. So you guys have seen stuff like this before, so it shouldn't be anything too new. Good luck!